What is up, YouTube? So in part one of this Serum tutorial, we used the oscillator section and made this sound. So if you haven't seen that already, go back to part one before you watch part two, because in part two, we're going to dive into the effects and really boost this sound up. So let's get started. I always use hyperdimension. Well, not so much the hyper, but definitely the dimension. I do like to give the sound some space now. Could give it maybe a little more. Cool. Just make sure my sub is direct out, which it is. Distortion is another one I put on basically all the sounds, but if you find a good balance on the tube, it'll just, excite the sound more than, change it, and that's why I use tube a lot. So you see it's a lot more gritty, dirty, and just more powerful now with that distortion on there. Flanger I don't use too much, but if you listen, it could be something cool, but I don't really make too many sounds that would sound cool on. I do use it a little bit on like leads and stuff, just not the mix all the way up, just turn the mix down. Phaser is a cool one that I use a lot. The frequency shift right here is pretty cool, so if you listen, so I like it right there. Just a little change to the sound, and it just kind of sounds a little more fuller. But if you do use the mix all the way up and kind of like LFO on the frequency, so I like it right there. Chorus is another cool one that you could get crazy on. So if we turn it all the way up again. But I'm not going to put it on this sound. It's just something to play with and know you could get some crazy effects from it. Delay is another cool one that you could do. So it's kind of like how we did the release on envelope 1 to kind of have the sound tail out. You could kind of do that with the delay too. I'm not sure if I like it fully, but I mean I kind of like how it fills it in, so we're going to dial the mix back a little bit. Now this is the good part, because if you hear the sound, it kind of like has different phasing parts. Or like sometimes it's a little more louder and then it gets a little quieter. I think it just has to do with the gapping and the overlapping. So I'm gonna squash the sound a little bit so it's more consistent volume. spot right there is cool. It squashes it. You could still hear the LFO, and it pumps a little bit without fully squashing the dynamics of it. And we get a more consistent volume now, so that's cool. Another cool thing I like to do on the reverb is use one like this. And then that way the envelope, when the sound is going, it will have reverb on it. As soon as the sound stops, psh, no reverb. So see how it goes on and off. I put a little LFO on there too, let's see. I kind of filled it out nicely. It gave it a little thicker to the sound. You don't really hear the reverb too much. It just thickens it out with the noise. So I like what it's doing right there. Now EQ, you could do what we did and just like roll off the low end and the high end, boost the subs, whatnot. But I like to use an external EQ for that. Whereas on this, I like to give it some character with the notches. So we could do something like this. And then take away on the other one and see what we could get now. So you see it really adds the talking effect to the sound, and I do like using that on just about any wobble because though we're a little dramatic on this one and really getting the talking effect, if you use it minimally and just get some certain frequency ranges that the sound already has and you just boost a little bit, it will really make the sound punch through the mix. But doing stuff like this, boosting one and taking away other and then crossing them gives you a nice talking effect. And the last thing with the filter is cool because then you can start doing some crazier filters like the phasers and flangers and the combs. So we'll just go ahead and layer that in there to give it another layer to the sound and really fill out the sound. That's what I do for the effects. If you go into the matrix, you could do some other stuff if you don't like looking at it through here and you're more of just want to read it and map it and then set the parameters. You could do that in here and also set it for forward and backwards or just, one way. So you get a lot of things, and you could also put it on the mod wheel and all that cool stuff and more routing stuff. There's also a few effects in here that you wouldn't normally see. So if you go to like the global master tune and then put the LFO on there, LFO 1, and then so that's some cool stuff you could do on that, but I'm going to turn that off. And just know that it's there for you. The global settings here, you could switch the unison range and width and all that stuff. But I really don't use this too much. I just kind of leave it as is. Some other settings in the preferences you could change, but again, I just leave it as is. I really don't get into this too much. I just, some nights I feel like experimenting and I'll mess around with this. But that is Serum. Other than that, you could go into the oscillator wavetables and do a whole, you know, drawing them, importing sounds, morphing, spectral, phasing, or the morphing spectral, all the processing, the X fades, the remove fundamental. So basically, like if there's a sub note playing in the wavetable, I do this to remove it. And crossfades I use a lot, normalize each grain gained separately, and remove DC offset are a lot of the ones I use a lot. And then the morphs too. I don't really use the single thing, but that is the preset for you all. I'm going to save this. The project is in Dropbox folder, so if you haven't have access to that, click the link below. Get on the email list. We'll send you access to the Dropbox link, and you will be able to mess around with preset and project. You could use my kick and snare that I designed. Use them in your own songs. You could take this loop, finish it into a song if it sparks any ideas. But that is my Serum tutorial for you all today. Maybe in the future we'll get really in depth in the wavetable editor, but I just really wanted you guys to, get in Serum and get working, and also realize that just using the saw waves will get you some crazy sounds, and it's not always about having a crazy oscillator. Even though crazy oscillators will get you cool sounds, it's really good to start with basic wavetables and develop the sound so you could learn the processing and routing and just how to manipulate the sound to the fullest. So go ahead and drop us a like, subscribe, and don't forget, more videos coming out soon. Click that link in the description. Get free presets, Ableton projects, and all that great stuff. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.